So Joe Rogan had on former Green Beret sniper Tim Kennedy, and they decided to discuss the Uvalde police failure in responding to the Robb Elementary massacre. And guess what? Much like regular standard Republican politicians and even Democrats like Joe Biden. You okay, Bradley? Did you fall over?
My chair tipped over for a second. Sorry about that.
They are blaming defund the police.
Argument that's like missing about the police is that the police don't train the way special operations train, but yet they're involved in combat scenarios on a regular basis.
Yeah, so what we're experiencing right now is a byproduct of what society has forced police to become. You know, they're demonizing military training for law enforcement.
Pathetic.
And then obviously we just experienced defund the police. And nearly every large city has seen a crazy rise in crime. And the ones that, these large cities that...
Sorry, we have to stop there. Initially, like the large rise in crime is because of the pandemic. Cities did not, there's no correlation between cities that... First of all, very few cities actually even got close to any sort of defund agenda, and to the extent that they did, the follow-through was lacking.
And certainly not in this instance.
Right.
Uvalde, as we've mentioned, had 40% of the town budget. So that was...
And explicit like drills for this exact combat scenario, not just a generic one. I don't know what Rogan thinks cops are doing, like it's Fallujah out there every day. But these cops got specific training for school shootings, and it didn't matter.
Yes, and there were protocols. They violated every single protocol that was given to them. Every piece of training that would have completely prepared them for this exact situation. But basically, the way that they are bastardizing the argument is they're saying that just the existence of defund protesters, just the fact that some officers have been held accountable and shamed publicly, not even put in prison in most cases for murdering black people in the streets, just the fact that there has been any mild critique has caused these wimpy little police officers not to follow the very strict and obvious protocols that would have completely prepared them for this exact situation. Yeah. That's what they're claiming. And
they sat waiting for SWAT and shields and a key that they didn't need because their feelings were hurt.
Even though they had a ton of equipment on already. Exactly. So that on its face is a ridiculous argument. But here, I mean, they're basically trying to make the case that they need to be trained like a military occupying force. So good on them.
I mean, why do we even need cops anyway? Why don't we just use the military?
I agree, yeah. Military patrolling the streets.
Yep.
This is the anti-establishment Joe Rogan and the guests that he has on here.
A crazy rise in crime. And the ones that, these large cities that defunded their police, to include Austin. You know, we've never seen homicides like this. You know, getting the Chicago's and the Boston's, you're just like,
it's just not true.
This is so scary. And how does it make any sense that I'm going to provide this group that I want to protect us with less training and less funding, but then still want them to be a better product to be able to protect us? And then the people that they're protecting, I'm going to disarm. So the people coming to save them are untrained and unprepared. It's creating this disastrous situation. You know, it's not like I want to prevent rapes from happening. So me as a good person, I'm going to like chop my...
Yeah. Interesting to bring up rapes in the context of bending over backwards to defend cops. Like, do you want to just take a guess at how many rape kits are untested in just the state of Texas alone? Like,
yeah, but maybe the paramilitary training would cause them to look a little bit harder into the rape kits. They could shoot them with a bazooka or something like that.
The dumbest argument you could ever make. Like, that's not going to prevent rape, but to protect us. And then the people that they're protecting, I'm going to disarm. So the people coming to save them are untrained and unprepared. It's creating this disastrous situation. You know, it's not like I want to prevent rapes from happening. So me as a good person, I'm going to like chop my penis off. Like, that's the dumbest argument you could ever make. Like, that's not going to prevent rapes. It is going and empowering people or preventing consequences for a rapist to try and rape somebody.
Okay, I mean...
All right, you do you, dude.
First of all, I mean, you can rape somebody without a penis. I mean, shooting. This metaphor is sick. Like this. Like I don't know where we went. Like what?
He just wants like the most visceral example that he can.
You're talking about
possibly
rape
find,
and chop.
right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's basically saying he's trying to claim that it is asinine to disarm in order to prevent violence, basically, from a police force perspective. But that's not the reality. You're completely twisting what we saw. They were incredibly heavily armed. There were dozens of officers there. They had the protocols in place, and you are claiming that the only way, like, what is the argument here? One, that is this a media critique? Is this a social media critique that people just need to be a bit nicer to cops, and then they'll remember how
the brave boys again?
Remember how to get their hand to stop trembling so they can get their finger on the trigger, or how to open the goddamn door?
I mean, really, what this is like let cops be cops. I remember Dan McLaughlin, who's the baseball crank on Twitter. This is like dad was a cop or whatever. But he's like, they don't let cops be cops anymore. Like that's what these guys are talking about. They don't let you abuse their power by beating you up or worse and getting away with it. And that's leading us to that's led us to a situation where there are now a bunch of pussies that can't save kids in an active school shooting.
It is interesting, too, to bring up the rape example in the let cops be cops, a.k.a. let boys be boys argument. I mean, officers have never, ever abused their power in order to abuse women, right? So that's why we need less oversight. All right, keep going.
You know, it's not cutting the genitals off of every man.
Right.
That's crazy.
So what do you think is the...
It would be like, testing the rape kits that the police is just sitting on and prosecuting rape.
And no one is... What is he talking about? Now he's transitioned into gun control. He's comparing penises to guns, which is like, all right, bro. We get it. Thank you for giving us a window into your psychology, potentially. I mean, it really is
absolute certainty.
It's the same reason guys will get like Ferraris or whatever. They need a physical outside of the pants extension of one's own penis.
And that's what sort of this thing is, because like I think everybody popularly knows that like being a groveling cop defender is lame. It's a lame thing to do. Joe Rogan can't be lame, but like as a sort of brand mechanism. But fundamentally, that's what he is. He's a bootlicking like cop defender. This is what he's been for years and years, going back to Mike Brown or wherever, whatever cop situation where cops killed somebody or used force. Joe Rogan was there to, it's a tough job. That's what Joe Rogan does. This is our counterculture right now. Is really it says a lot for why we're heading towards fascism.
Yep.
The roadblock for obviously what you're saying in terms of with law enforcement is it's common sense. So why is it so hard to get something implemented like a rigorous training course?
They did that, I think, in Uvalde, Joe. They had the exact school shooter training pro. They got that. Didn't work because it's cops.
It's ignorance. I think the first thing is society, culture right now. We have been we've been emasculating the law enforcement for a while. We want a kinder, softer, gentler, and I get they're dealing with mental health, and we can have specialists that can come in and deal with somebody having a mental health crisis, but we still need men and women that will run towards the sound of gunfire and know what to do.
Yeah. That is not what cops are. And so I agree. I'm actually somebody who I'm fairly okay on board with all types of police abolition. And the one thing I would say to people who are like, wait a second, what about, school shootings and stuff like that? It's like, yeah, I think that there's going to be a necessity for state to have an armed first response sort of solution.
Yeah.
The problem with cops is that that's not what they are. They sit in their ass on their car harassing people all day for petty shit. That's what cops do. Like this, and so we see in a situation like Uvalde that they don't actually what you give them a date to go do training. So instead of sitting on their ass in a car, they're running through an obstacle course. Do you think that's really going to cause them to start saving kids now? It's ridiculous.
It is. It absolutely is. And their solution is more just more like heavily militarize the police to a degree that they would be able to respond to this. When that's not what is going to happen here. It's just that military gear is going to be turned on regular folks, and then these same guys are going to come around and turn around and pretend it's actually the complaint. This cop ran a tank over this random person in the street, and that's why they have been unable to stop the next mass shooting, because you complained about it. Look what you made me do. Look what you made the cops do. The fact that you spoke up, huh? The fact that you were a little too uppity. You spoke a little bit too much about how we have been abusing people. I mean, that's really what it is. Let's be real. You spoke a little bit too vocally about cops and how we need to change our practices, and the whole institution is rotten. And so, yeah, you've completely emasculated us, as he would say.
On April 16th, so masculine, in my opinion.
It is. Yeah,
April 16, 2017, Kennedy announced his re-enlistment in the U.S. Armored Special Forces, praising leadership of James Mattis and H.R. McMaster. So, I mean, this just bold truth teller that's willing to stand up to these, woke elites and, grovel for the likes of James Mattis and H.R. McMaster.
Can't hold anyone accountable, because if you do, guess what? Maybe we won't be there to protect you anymore, huh? Let us do whatever we want to do to you.
And I don't know if it's what motivates Tim Kennedy, although he looks like kind of a little bit of a corporate whore, so maybe it is. But I mean, this is money. This is money to arms dealers and body armor specialists for shit to go give to teachers and SR school resource officers and stuff like that. This is a lot of money to be made in as opposed to the opposite, which is like, oh, we stopped an entire industry from selling implements of mass death. There's a lot of not money in that, so you can see which way America's going to go.
It is obvious to anybody that we are in a bloating, dying empire based on the fact that the only way that the United States understands how to exert its power, and that trickles down to its citizenry, is via military and brute force and militarization of our police force. What? Kennedy
is married. He is co-owner of Ranger Up, a military-based clothing company. He is also the owner of CEO of Sheepdog Response, a tactical training and self-defense company. I wonder if he can start training some of these folks.
Yeah, there might be something in it for him.
Yeah, I mean, as Joe Rogan gets government money for his brain force, so yeah, these guys.